we're really delighted to be on board the Sunboy yacht this morning. We were here yesterday as well. We've been having a great time over here and over at the Bett Arena as well, picking up some great stuff. I'm Helen Green and this is Ellis Taylor, and we, as already introduced, both work at Hopwood Hall College up in Manchester in the northwest of England. We've been customers of It's Learning sort of over the past sort of 10 years or so. Around that point, you know, we built a solid foundation with the company, developed relationships over time. We've had a great time really. Sort of, I worked for the college for 5 years of that, and Ellis a couple of years of that. And ultimately to sort of create the most positive experience we can for our learners and our staff in the digital environment. Sort of briefly about my role, I'm the digital learning designer at the college. Before that I worked a lot face-to-face, teaching and supporting learners in schools and colleges. At the moment I'm sort of on doing a more of a very focused staff training and development role around digital skills based around our It's Learning platform and other things that feed into that. Ellis is the VLE coordinator, so she is the, for want of a better phrase, the back end of the system. She keeps us all up and running and going, and she does a fantastic job with that. Excuse my low-tech notes, but it's always the best way. Like I said, you know, we've come on a journey with It's Learning, a very successful one, in partnership with It's Learning. I've been through a college tender process and relaunch of It's Learning during academic year 2018-2019, and as obviously because we are here, it continues to be our preferred choice. There were several factors influencing the overall process and decision and sort of ongoing matters, but we did come to an end of contracts with It's Learning. We did have a big change in management at the college. There's been a new principal appointed sort of in the last 12 months. But we also use it as a vehicle to refocus staff in the usage of the platform, and a sort of not just for sort of day-to-day use, but for us to refocus and look at other capabilities of the platform that we may not have used before, and sort of base that on things we can streamline, things we can do to time save processing the things within the site. Again, big in It's Learning that we are here, the support we do receive is amazing. We can't fault that at all. And sort of we found new elements within the platform that we haven't utilised before. And this is sort of what this morning our presentation is about. So in a minute I'm going to sort of hand you over to Ellis, and she's going to give us a fingers crossed demo if the Wi-Fi doesn't drop out, but we've got a little bit of a backup to support that if needs be. So over to Ellis. She's going to sort of take you through a live demo on our test site now, and sort of go through some of the ins and outs of using course templates. Ellis?
Perfect. Hello everybody. So before I get started, I just want to get an idea of who's in the room. So hands up anybody who administrates the system. Hands up teachers. Cool, okay. And anybody else do anything else, or just here for fun? No? Awesome. Oh, yes. Okay, cool. So I'll try and kind of include everybody as I go through, and kind of really make clear how course templates will make teachers' lives easier and how they make administrators' lives easier. So as Helen said, I administrate the system on a day-to-day basis. This is not our true system at the moment. This is just a test site that we've set up, for example, for today. Obviously our live site has all our staff and student data in, so you'll have to forgive the fact that this looks a little bit bleak in places. It is just for what we're going through today. What you'll see here is we've got some courses already set up, just to give you an idea. As Helen's mentioned, we're a Manchester college, we're a vocational college, and we have around 100 courses on our site. So I've put a few on just to give you a flavour of what our site would look like and how we utilise this course template. And as you'll see, one of these tiles is named a master template. So I'm going to go in there now. It's worth mentioning that I've named it master template. With the course templates, it is what you decide to create and push out as a template. We're not aware of any like pre-designed ones, but I'm sure if you were to speak to It's Learning, they could help you set that up, but we've kind of set our own up. And this is what we've utilised within the college for various different things. So what you'd kind of do is set yourself a course up. You think about the things that you might want to push out via a course template. So the benefit of a course template in the main is kind of the ability to push content out to lots of courses very quickly and performing the action once and as an administrator. And it provides obviously a lot of consistency amongst those courses, and you can kind of ensure that standardization as you go. So in order to set a course up as a course template, you'll need to go into this more here. Your sites may look a little bit different just depending on the settings that you have or haven't got set up, but we're going to into the more, and we'll go into the settings and then into the course properties and features. Some of you may be familiar with this screen. It's kind of where you set up all your titles and whatnot, and the course template area is actually right at the bottom of the screen here. So as you can see, this is not set as a template at the moment, so I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to save that, and you get your little confirmation message. And if I go back to the overview screen, we get a little message up here telling us this is now a template course. It's worth bearing in mind that you can continue to work on the course and push out as a template when you're ready. It's not going to impact on courses until you give say so. So one of the things we utilise course templates for this year, as Helen mentioned, we've kind of gone through a bit of a restructure, and we've used that as an opportunity to strip back and think about the way we set our courses up. So one of the things we do is an audit on all of our VLE courses. We understand that the students need to see and need to be able to readily access certain documents quickly. So things like appeals procedure that are consistent throughout the college is really useful to push out via a course template. So that's essentially exactly what we've done. We've done that through the plan. If I click, it'll catch up in a second, I'm sure. There we go. So very aptly named our course information. We set it up as a plan just so we can push everything out nice and easy, and the students are within our college very familiar with the plan setting. We actually have timetabled sessions where they come in and utilise the system, and that's how we push those timetabled sessions out. So the plan is easiest for us because that's what the students are most used to. And as you can see, just as a quick example here, we kind of give it a title, give it a description, and we've popped some resources in there. These things we utilise in different ways. So as I mentioned, appeals procedure is consistent across the college, so one document on it goes. The scheme of work and the meet the team we've kind of set up as a template so that the staff can just go in and populate where they need to. Again, saving a bit of time rather than them creating a document from scratch. And in essence, when we're ready and we're happy with this, we simply go back to our more setting. We go back into settings, back into course property and features, and then we focus on these little dots because we've already turned on our course shared template. And we've got an apply template option. We have the option within this screen to think about a certain amount of things, one of which is which courses we want to apply a template to. So in this instance, like I say, we've not got very many courses in here, but for us, sometimes we want to push something out just to our level ones or just to a certain department, and sometimes we'll push it out college-wide. So this screen really gives us that flexibility. As you can see, we've got a search option. Obviously, presently not enough courses in there, but really useful when you're after one specific area. And when you're happy, you've got the courses that you want, we'll just apply this to all. You click add, and it takes you back to the screen you were in a moment ago, but it shows exactly which courses are getting that template applied. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the terms, just because we're setting those up in the course rather than the template. And this last box here is about the dates. So as I showed you the planner a moment ago, some of you may have noted there wasn't a date on that plan. With the course information, we tend to push it out without a date just so that students can access, because if it has a date, it will stay on the top of their page for all eternity. So we push it out with no dates in this instance. We go for the next step. We get a confirmation message that we're about to apply the template, and it might take a second. And with any luck today, it will not take that long because the documents are not that big. And if we go back to our home page and select the motor vehicle, if we go into plans, we'll see the course information has come across, but as some of you may have diligently noticed, anything that was already within the course has not been affected. So it's a really useful way for administrators to push that consistency out without treading on teachers' toes. One of the other things you can do with your course template, so as you've seen, we've just pushed something out. I now, as an administrator, can come back into my master template. I'm sure you've all experienced where schools have different initiatives and they kind of say, right, now we're doing this. For example, we had something called New Year Fresh Start after the Christmas holidays, just to ensure that our students were continuing to sort of maintain their engagement. The senior leadership team wanted us to do some nice wraparound warm and fluffy activities. The easiest way for us to do that was to push out via the templates, so we did. And just to kind of give you a real life example of how quick that is, we popped into our plans, we added a topic. Let's just say we were going for a personal development session. Off we go. And we would pop a plan in there. I'm very unimaginative, so I'm going with the same title. Would help if I could spell. In this instance, I'm going to put a date in just to show you how we can pull that through. So I'm going to pop today's date so you can see that. And again, we tend to ensure that our descriptions are a bit more informative, but for the purposes of today, we'll just provide some basic instructions. You can add resources from wherever you have access to. I'm going to add from the library because I've already popped something in there. I planned ahead. And I will talk about the library in a little more depth in a short while. So forgive me for whizzing through these screens. Like I say, I'll bring this back in a moment. And let's just say, as part of our session, we were going to discuss British values. I've got the option to view a resource, or I can add direct to the plan. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that, get my little message, come back out, and there it is. So now, if I go back to our more setting, you're going to get really bored of this screen. Back into our course properties and features. We can look to apply this template now. We get the option where we've already shared a template to either continue sharing to those that it's already been applied to, or to select different courses. Given I've applied it to all, I may as well just carry on for the purposes of today. And just to show you that date function pulling through, I'm going to untick the clearing dates. We can apply the template again. We go back to home, back into that motor vehicle course. And what you'll actually see here, it's already pulled through, and because we've selected today's date, that plan is now active on the courses we've applied it to for the teachers. So as you can see, for an administrator, when you've got the content, you can push it out quite quickly. It saves us a lot of time instead of having to kind of duplicate that across courses. And for the teachers, where appropriate, if we copy with those dates, the teacher doesn't even have to go in and provide any oversight. It is just there for them to utilise. So I'm going to hand over back to Helen now, and she'll go over some other bits. I'll let you swap.
Thank you. Thanks, Ellis. That was really interesting. I hope you find that sort of like a live demo with that sort of an interesting thing to look at, something you can sort of take back to your organisation perhaps, and have a think about it. So I just sort of wanted to go from from the sort of the live demo and sort of just like practically applying something to some sort of like just to sort of sum up and clarify some organisational impact and sort of like the benefits of this, and for sort of clarity, and it was just worked out very nicely that way. It was like the 4 C's, just so I can sort of like you know, explain to you why we find a feature like this useful as a department, and sort of as an organisation. So we've got the first C, we've got the customisation. Yes, you can like build in like a core design with like core materials, but then you kind of hand over to your teaching staff and give them the autonomy that we want our staff to have, and like start getting creative and really make the courses their own for their own learners. So you can see that sort of like, you know, it's a big thing. It's convenience, you know, it does save time, you know, for teachers, for administrators, for sort of everyone involved. If you are like an organisation like ours where you have like 100+ courses, you know, there's a potential of that streamlining element and saving a lot of time there. So again, useful to sort of like bear that in mind when using a feature like this within the itslearning platform. Collaboration, I know you kind of hear this quite a lot, but you know, it does kind of foster that notion of working. You can work together, you can consider others and share easily, so you can have, you know, you can have various people contributing to like a master material, so to speak, and it kind of fosters that like working together fashion and sort of making things easier in that respect. And then the final very convenient C was centralisation. So maybe it just, you know, it kind of goes against a little bit the sort of customisation element, but you can kind of see that working together, that things are kept sort of central. You're thinking about quality control and meeting standards, you know, it's part and parcel of the industry in which we all are working. And you can have confidence in that core material. You can have discrete oversight from like a leadership team in core material and sort of like push things out under the guidance of them sort of very, very easily. So I hope that sort of like those 4 things have kind of brings it together a little bit of how you could sort of going back and talk to your colleagues, talk to your teams, talk to your like senior leadership about what's going on in your site and what you want to sort of achieve from that. Press the wrong button then. Okay. So we're just going to continue on now. Ellis sort of touched upon the library and sort of adding resources from the library. Sorry, I didn't realise that this... I just realised. I don't know if that's been on all the time, but... so I'm more important now. Adding resources from the library and how sort of a feature like that goes hand in hand with using course templates, for example, sort of like streamlining that a bit more and sort of using the library. So without further ado, we're going to have a little further demonstration from Ellis now, again hopefully, which will go very nicely in our live test site. So if you're ready again, Ellis, to come and continue for us. There we go.
So as I'm sure you'll all appreciate today, we're trying to give you an idea of how course templates can be used, and you know, they're very, very useful. You can utilise them in a multitude of different ways, and I couldn't possibly begin to show you all of that today. But as Helen said, some of what we find really works very well in our college is utilising that in tandem with the library. And one thing I didn't show you earlier, which I'm now going to show you, is another useful element to the course template. You can have teachers have a course populated by a course template. They can continue to add to it and it doesn't go back up the chain. So you retain your master as you left it. So we're going to kind of go through that now. So I'm going to ask you to use your imagination a little bit and imagine I'm now logged in as a teacher rather than an administrator, and I'm in my level 1 motor vehicle course, and I'm going to add some further content to this plan that has kindly been provided by the course template. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to think about how I can maybe ground British values in my course material, and I'm going to go into the library. So you'll have seen this screen a moment ago, and I'm going to search again. I know what document I'm looking for, so I'm going to bring these British values back to changing a wheel because I'm exceptionally imaginative. So as you can see, I can put something simple into the library such as wheel. My result has come up first because I've created that recently. I think I'm still in the account, so there it is. But I also get a series of other results from other colleges, because you can, as most of you will probably be aware, utilise that library to work collaboratively, not just within your own institution, but with anybody else who is happy to share that content with you. One of the other things that's really important within the library is the ability to search in a multitude of different ways. We don't have it here at the moment because being a test site, I haven't set any learning objectives in the background, but this learning objective element is a really, really powerful tool. If as a teacher, you're looking for something that will be appropriate, will hit those objectives, but maybe don't have anything in your mind as to a direct item, you can utilise that function and it will pull through anything that meets those learning objectives. So again, kind of saves you that time where you might not have something pre-prepared. And further down, we've got some other options. So you can filter by assessment types or resource types. If you're after a particular type of format, a particular language, and you can also see here, we've got the option to search simply only for our own college's resources. So again, this is any resource that's in the test site, not the actual college site. So if I were to tick that, you see everything filters down. I've just got my own resource that I've created. So I'm going to add that to the plan. As I said earlier, you can view a resource, so if you weren't sure what you were getting, we'll pretend that worked. It does normally open a window, provide you just a quick view of what the resource looks like. In that instance, it is just an Excel document that has a list of things that I think you need to do when you change your wheel, so it was probably good it didn't work anyway, because I'm not sure I'm very good at it. We'll add that to the plan. You get your message again saying that has been added to the plan. And if you were to want to add further resources, you can go back to your library and you can continue to search. But if you're happy you've got what you need, you can just come back out. And you can see this has now been added to the plan here. If we go back to our overview screen, it's also there on that plan for the students to see and access. And as I said, if we go back to our master template, it's not been added here. So you remove that worry that as an administrator, you end up with 100 people adding 100 things to 100 courses and it causing chaos for you. It doesn't go back up the chain. So you're really safe in that knowledge that what you push out is what is pushed out. You don't lose your master. Everybody else can continue to personalise and customise their courses. Something that I'm not going to showcase today because it is it's difficult to utilise when I don't have any students in the site, is that you can also use your master templates and your course template, to pull through permissions for folders. So if you have certain folders that you want, say, a certain group to see, you can utilise this function to pull through. And it just helps, I think, in some instances, rather than teachers creating masses and masses of folders and trying to direct people to this and direct people to that. They can come to you as an administrator, you can work together and push that through for them. So I think that's all I have to show you today. Does anybody specifically want me to go over anything again?
We'll have time at the end. We'll have a few more minutes now.
So there's a bit.
So if you just want to have a think, sort of for a few minutes now, we've just got a couple more things to go over. And if you've got any sort of specific questions you want to ask in the room, or maybe sort of we're hanging around for a bit. But if you just want to have a think about that now, before a few minutes before we finish, then that'd be fantastic. Are you done? Excellent. Thank you, Ellis. Excellent, showing everyone how to use itslearning as always. So Ellis has just sort of talked about the library and using it in conjunction with course templates, and sort of demonstrating how when teachers start adding to courses, this whole back up the chain thing, it doesn't mess with your master. The teachers just add into their own, so we're not sort of it's not a two-way street, sort of in that respect. I just sort of a couple of benefits of the library from sort of an organisational point of view. Again, it is a place to sort of use and share resources and have it as a repository for sort of all sorts of different things. Again, fostering a collaborative way of working, saving time, no point reinventing the wheel where you can sort of already get it from somewhere else. Certainly from a teacher perspective, that is it's quite a big thing. This whole notion of sharing within an organisation, but then outside the organisation, if you set a resource to be available, if you create something, you add it to the library and you set it as to be available to the itslearning community, sort of anyone who's part of that itslearning community can share you know, can perhaps have access to a sort of a resource that you might view as like a sort of a universal resource. So that's you know, that's always useful. And also there's a dynamic updating element within the library. So if you create a library resource within your organisation and sort of add it to a course, but then that resource might change or a link might break or something like that. If you've added its courses in your organisation, if you then go back to the library and if you're like the author of that and you edit that, it'll dynamically update anything within your site. So if it's on like level 2 health and social care, level 2 motor vehicle, level 2 whatever this massive list of courses we've got, it'll dynamically update in all that. So we've used that as our like sort of resource officers have created sort of information pages for set subjects. So they've like had, you know, content blocks for like the resources catalogue and ebooks and sort of links to sort of relevant websites for that area. If anything, then sort of added it to all them the courses that are in that subject. But then if things have changed, they've gone back to the library, updated it there, and it's dynamically updated in all them courses. So it's sort of another thing you sort of don't have to worry about in that sense. Just a sort of a couple of minutes about you know, using, you know, a universal platform in an organisation and sort of wanting everyone to like work together and sort of like use you know, It's Learning as like a central resource. As a department, you know, we're always thinking about influencing factors. You know, we've got, you know, there's a lot going on. It's a big college. We're sort of wanting people to use things in a certain way, but you know, sort of all of these things are sort of always on our mind when we're thinking about how we can do things and if things are possible and if people are going to sort of like it or it's going to meet up to standards. So we're always thinking about our staff and the curriculum that they are teaching and how that fits in with them. We're always thinking about the quality of things we're adding and sort of how the leadership will view that, about how the way we've organised it, you know, the system itself, sort of It's Learning and sort of other things that speak to it and its and the capabilities and sort of, you know, this is like slightly warm and fluffy, but you know, we're sort of like talking, oh, just click this button and do this, but you know, we try to keep our learners at the centre of that and try to do sort of what's best for them so they're sort of gaining the best from this system. I hope that sort of like rings with you guys working in your organisations, trying to sort of like, you know, we've got these like kids, sorry, it's very unprofessional term, but you know, these children they're coming to us and we're providing these resources and we want to make sure it's like sort of the best for them. Plane landing. So that concludes our presentation this morning. Like I said before, we sort of take a minute, see if anyone's got any questions. We are very happy to be a point of contact for people. We've just popped on there our sort of generic, very responsive, by the way, it's not just like a cop-out VLE email address. So, you know, it's sort of like you know, we are contactable as a college. We're very responsive to people. We do work a lot with It's Learning and other colleges in the UK and in Europe. So if you want to sort of like talk over anything we've talked about this morning, sort of like discuss strategies and ways in which you could use it, sort of anything like that at all, or even just, you know, some of the basic ins and outs. Sometimes, you know, Ellis gives demonstrations to people and sometimes you're like, oh, can we just have a look at that again and just see how we can like fit this in? Sort of anything like that at all, we are more than happy to sort of engage with you. I don't know if anyone's got any questions right now. It's okay if you haven't, because I never want to ask any questions. But yeah, that's that concludes us this morning. So we're gonna sort of just have a hang around here for a bit if anyone wants to come and talk to us on a one-to-one. But that's it from us.
All right, Helen, Ellis, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.